Barron Trump's stunning first speech leaves America speechless, and what happened next was even bigger. Inside the grand salon of the Trump family estate in Florida, Barron Trump stood motionless, his posture calm, yet his heart raced like a drum. He looked up. Before him, Melania Trump slowly raised her piercing blue eyes from her tea. Her gaze was sharp, calculating, watching. On the other side of the room, Donald Trump leaned back in his chair, placed his phone screen down on the table, and arched one eyebrow. It was time. Barron took a deep breath. This was it, his first public speech. A moment of silence settled over the room. Melania blinked. Donald leaned forward, eyes narrowing. It was no secret Barron had spent his entire life avoiding the spotlight. Born into it, but never part of it. He'd never given an interview, never released a statement. He was the mystery in a family of megaphones. But now, at 18 years old, with the 2024 election behind them and a new political landscape unfolding, he was about to make a move no one had expected. "I think it's time words carried more weight than just being necessary," he said quietly. Melania's teacup paused midair. Trump tilted his head. Barron stood tall. "I don't want to be just Donald Trump's son," he said, his voice steady. "I want people to hear my voice." Trump chuckled, rubbing his chin. "The media will chew you up before you say your first sentence." "I know," Barron replied. "That's exactly why I have to do it." The room fell into a heavy silence. Melania's instinct was to protect. She had fought so hard for his privacy, his childhood, his freedom to grow up away from judgmental eyes. But Trump, he saw something else. A risk, yes, but also a rare opportunity. And then came the shock. Barron wouldn't just speak, he would do it at a major political event. The announcement was set to go public in 48 hours. And when it did, it broke the internet. From CNN to Fox News, headlines exploded. Barron Trump to deliver first ever public speech. What does this mean for the Trump dynasty? Social media turned into a battlefield. Supporters claimed he was about to make history. Critics mocked the idea. A privileged kid with nothing to say, they sneered. And then it got worse. A leaked document hit the web. It alleged that Barron's speech had been entirely written by Trump's campaign team, turning him into a political puppet. The backlash was brutal. "He's just reading a Trump brand script," one journalist tweeted. "A corporate product in a suit." The internet exploded. Barron saw it all. And that's when he made a decision that changed everything. That night, he locked himself in his room, alone. He sat at his desk, pen in hand, and rewrote the speech himself. Word for word, line by line. Only Melania knew. At midnight, the Palm Beach estate was eerily quiet. Political strategists still roamed the hallways, whispering plans with his father. But Barron had made it clear, no one touches his speech. Melania sat quietly beside him, watching him cross things out and rewrite with growing intensity. "You don't have to prove anything, sweetheart," she whispered. "I'm not trying to prove anything," Barron replied softly. "I just need them to listen." But doubt crept in. Could he really do this? He had spent his life avoiding cameras. His voice had never been heard, beyond whispers, beyond speculation. Now, he was about to step into the light, and this time, it would be on his own terms. Barron Trump's defining moment, the silence before the roar. What happens if he freezes? What if he fails? It was around 10 p.m. Barron Trump was rehearsing, alone in the candlelit study. Each word felt heavier than the last, every pause stretching longer, tighter. He was fighting not just public doubt, but the weight of his own legacy. Then a knock. Donald Trump entered the room, but he wasn't alone. Right behind him was none other than Elon Musk. Barron blinked, surprised. Hi. Musk, ever eccentric, examined Barron like a prototype. Then with a grin he said, "I hear you're about to shake the world." Barron, still taken aback, shrugged modestly. "I'm just trying to say what I believe." Musk chuckled. "Good, just don't be boring." And then he left. It was a brief visit, but the impact was seismic. For the first time, Barron felt something new. He wasn't just the son of a president anymore. The next day, the hall was packed, buzzing, nervous. Elon Musk sat front row beside Donald and Melania Trump. A strange but formidable trio. Behind them, Senator J.D. Vance and his wife Usha, scanning the room, watching, waiting. Cameras flashed, reporters whispered. The tension thickened. Then, he walked in. Barron Trump, the collective expectation? He'd choke, fumble, fail. As he approached the podium, silence swept across the room like a tidal wave. He gripped both sides of the lectern, took a deep breath, looked out into the sea of faces, some hopeful, some hostile, all waiting. The first sentence would define him. Then he leaned in. It's clear I was never meant to have a voice of my own. Gasps, a few stifled laughs. The air shifted. No one expected that. And then he put the speech down. Audible shock rippled through the crowd. This wasn't part of the script. This wasn't coached. This was something else. Barron Trump was about to do the unimaginable. He slowly lowered the prepared speech, placing it neatly on the podium. The microphone caught the soft rustle of the paper and the heavy breath of a young man about to leap into the unknown. The crinkle of paper echoed softly as Barron set the speech aside. Donald Trump's face stiffened slightly, his jaw tightening, his eyes narrowing with the kind of guarded attention only a man used to control could display. Melania, seated beside him, sat straighter, her hands folded, her eyes locked ahead. Elon Musk leaned forward, intrigued. In the second row, Senator J.D. Vance and his wife Usha exchanged a quick glance. Not fear, not surprise, but something closer to curiosity mixed with tension. Something was happening, and it wasn't in the script. Barron Trump took a deep breath. His voice, when it came, was calm, but resolute. For 18 years, people have spoken for me. The media, the critics, even my family. They told you who I am. They told me who I should be. The room fell into a stillness so complete it felt like a held breath. But today, for the first time, you'll hear it from me. The lights hit his face just enough to reflect the features of someone who was no longer the silent boy by his mother's side. He had stepped forward now, his own man, in front of the world, with nothing written on his teleprompter. I've watched my father stand on stages like this so many times I lost count, he said. I've seen him praised. I've seen him mocked. Somewhere behind the cameras, a director whispered, "Zoom in." Every editor in the back room froze, eyes wide, fingers hovering over the cue buttons. And all that time, everyone kept asking the same question. What's next for the Trump legacy? Barron paused, then tilted his head slightly, his expression unreadable. But I've got a better question. Why does the name Trump have to define me at all? A hush swept through the press pool. Campaign staff looked at each other. Even Donald, the master of spectacle, seemed unsure. They think I either have to embrace the name fully or reject it entirely. But what if I just want to be me? Barron glanced toward the crowd. There was no anger in his voice, no blame, just clarity. I'm not here to make campaign promises. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. I'm just here to say, for the first time in my life, I get to choose my path. A murmur in the control room. Do we cut the feed? No one moved because even Donald was still watching, silent, motionless, listening to his son. I'm Barron Trump, and finally I get to speak for myself. For a moment, the entire stage, the entire room was his. To be honest, he didn't flinch. Looking at him, I know some of you might not believe me. He acknowledged the tension. I know what people might be saying online right now, that I didn't write this speech, that I'm just playing a role. Then, he did something no one expected. He pulled out a crumpled stack of handwritten notes, blue ink full of crossouts and last-minute additions. This, he said, is the speech I wrote at 3 a.m. in my room. No advisors, no campaign staff, just me home. He held it up for everyone to see, and the whole room gasped. The whispers stopped. The doubt wavered. Even the most skeptical reporters had to admit this wasn't scripted. Donald Trump's face was unreadable, but Melania had the faintest smile. Then Barron dropped another bombshell. I don't know if I'll ever do this again. Maybe this is the first and last time I speak in public, but at least If it's my only speech, I know it's mine." A heavy silence followed. Then it happened. Someone clapped, then another, and another. Before anyone could fully process what had just occurred, the entire room was standing. The sound was deafening. For the first time in his life, Barron Trump wasn't standing in his father's shadow. He wasn't just the quiet son. He wasn't the untouchable Trump mystery. He was his own man. The applause spread like wildfire, starting with hesitant claps, then surging into a wave. Donald Trump stood up. Melania beside him, her eyes filled with something rare, pride, but also relief. Then Elon Musk stood and clapped, a knowing smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. His approval meant something. In a world where public perception changes in seconds, Musk's nod was a message. J.D. Vance and Usha exchanged a glance, then stood too. But the real shock came from the press. People who had spent years criticizing the Trumps were on their feet. Barron scanned the room, his pulse racing, his hands gripping the edge of the podium, not out of fear, but to steady himself. He hadn't expected this. There was a nervous chuckle, then real laughter. And just like that, the tension evaporated. Outside, the world was losing its mind. Twitter, no, X, was exploding. Is this really happening? Barron Trump just went off script and got a standing ovation. WTF. I can't believe I'm saying this, but that might have been one of the best speeches I've seen in years. Forget politics. That kid just changed the game. The live stream, which had started with modest viewership, shattered records. Cable news anchors, many of whom had dismissed Barron as irrelevant, were scrambling to rewrite their takes in real time. Even the loudest Trump critics were struggling to spin the moment. A CNN commentator caught on a hot mic. Damn, that was actually powerful. Backstage, Barron exhaled hard. The energy was strange, surreal. The moment he stepped off the stage, his mother was the first to reach him. Melania hugged him. Not the usual public politeness, but a real intense hug. "You did it, Barron," she whispered. Then Donald Trump stepped in. He didn't say much. He didn't have to. A firm handshake, a strong pat on the back. "Proud of you, son." But Barron saw something rare in his father's eyes, a flicker of admiration. Then came Elon Musk. The billionaire said nothing at first, just studied Barron like he was analyzing the aftershocks of a rocket launch. Finally, he nodded, surprised but impressed. Barron smiled. "I'll take it." Within hours, political strategists debated. Had Barron just positioned himself as a future leader without even trying? The morning after the speech, Barron Trump woke up to something unfamiliar. He was leading the news cycle. He reached for his phone and hesitated. A part of him didn't want to know what the world was saying, but another part, the one that had just changed everything, needed to. The first thing he saw, a direct message from Elon Musk. "You did good. Let's talk soon." Barron's eyebrow lifted. Musk had been observing during the speech, but now, it seemed he had more to say. Before he could process it, a knock on the door pulled him back. "Yes?" His mother entered holding a tablet, her expression unreadable. "Good morning," Melania said, sitting on the edge of his desk. Barron sat up. "What's going on?" She handed him the tablet. On the screen, a public reaction poll. 73% approval. Barron blinked. Melania tilted her head, watching him. "They're listening to you," she said simply. But then she swiped to a different screen. This one wasn't so kind. Far-left media outlets were calling the speech a carefully crafted PR stunt. Critics labeled it hollow and non-committal. Barron gave a dry laugh. "Guess I can't win them all." Melania looked at him with a knowing gaze. What she said next, though, stunned him. "You have to decide if this was just a speech or the beginning of something more." Barron leaned back, ran his fingers through his hair. The weight of it hit him. He hadn't planned this. He just wanted to speak his truth. Now, people were asking, what comes next? And for the first time in his life, he didn't know. That day, Barron found himself somewhere unexpected. A private meeting with Elon Musk. Not in a big office, not at a flashy venue. Just the back of a quiet, upscale restaurant. No cameras, no strategists, just a conversation. Musk studied him with sharp eyes, calculating. "You surprise a lot of people," Musk said eventually. Barron nodded, "including myself." A faint smirk crossed Musk's lips. "Good, that's how all great disruptors begin." Barron frowned slightly. "I'm not trying to be a disruptor." Musk tilted his head. "That's why it works." Silence. Then Musk leaned in. "What do you want, Barron?" The question hung in the air, heavier than anything else that night, bigger than the moment itself. Barron exhaled. "I don't know," he said. Musk nodded as if he had expected that. He set his drink down, a rare seriousness spreading across his face. "Let me give you one piece of advice," he said. "You have something most people never get, the world's attention. You can do whatever you want with it. Ignore it. Embrace it. Change it. But whatever you do, own it." Barron sat with that for a moment. Did he want to walk away from all of this? Return to the quiet life he once knew? Or was something bigger calling him? That night, Barron stood on his family estate's balcony, looking out over the dark waters of the ocean. He had always felt like an observer, watching the world happen around him, never fully a part of it. But now he was in the center of it. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Another notification, another headline, another question about what he would do next. He sighed and made a decision. Barron Trump wouldn't rush into anything. He wouldn't let the world pressure him into becoming something he wasn't ready to be. But one thing was certain, he was no longer fading into the background. Whatever came next, he would choose it. He turned off his phone, looked ahead into the night, and with a quiet certainty, stepped back inside. Do you think Barron Trump's speech will have a lasting impact on his future in public life? Would you handle the pressure differently if you were in his shoes? If this moment surprised you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another breaking story from American Adventure.